The packed concert hall buzzed with anticipation. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered, and social media was on fire. A liberal musician, famous for his outspoken views and arrogance, had just thrown down the gauntlet. Microphone Pam Bondi? Play the piano? Please. I bet she can't even play Chopsticks without messing up. The crowd laughed. The musician smirked, leaning back in his chair, arms crossed. He was ready to humiliate her. But what happened next no one saw coming. Fire Pam Bondi stands up and walks the piano fire with calm confidence. Pam rose from her seat, smiled politely, and walked toward the grand piano at center stage. The musician chuckled under his breath. This was going to be easy. She sat down, fingers resting lightly on the keys. Then she started to play. Musical notes, the first notes rang out, and the room fell silent. Musical notes, police Starlight classical? No. Jazz? Not even close. Police Starlight Fire Pam Bondi was playing Rachmaninoff. Fire her hands glided effortlessly across the keys, unleashing a flurry of powerful, intricate, and breathtakingly beautiful notes. The tempo shifted, the melody soared, and jaws across the room dropped to the floor. The musician's smirk vanished. Musical score from Beethoven to Liszt. From Mozart to Chopin, Bondi mastered all. Musical score gasps. Applause. Stunned silence. The musician, who moments earlier had been so eager to mock her, now looked like he had seen a ghost. His face turned red, his jaw clenched, and his hands twitched as if he wanted to run away. The final notes echoed through the hall. Pam Bondi stood up, gave a small bow, and walked off stage without saying a word. Fire, the crowd erupted. Fire, loudspeaker cheers. Standing ovation. Loudspeaker musician? He sat there, humiliated, speechless, utterly destroyed. Microphone Pam Bondi didn't just prove him wrong, she obliterated him. Police Starlight epic. Legendary. Unforgettable. Police Starlight just as the thunderous applause began to die down. A voice shouted from the back of the hall. Wait! That's impossible. The stunned audience turned to see a nervous-looking assistant of the musician rushing toward the stage. His face was pale, his hands shaking as he pointed toward the shell-shocked musician. Microphone, he can't read music. Microphone, the crowd gasped. What? Fire Pam Bondi's challenger, the arrogant, self-righteous musician, had built his career on deception. Fire, according to the assistant. The musician had spent years faking his talent, relying on hidden earpieces, memorized tricks, and assistants who played for him behind the scenes. But now, he was exposed. Eyes' humiliation was complete. Eyes Pam Bondi didn't just outplay him. She revealed his entire career as a fraud. Police Starlight the musician tried to speak, but it was too late. Police Starlight the audience turned on him. Boos filled the hall. Reporters scrambled to tweet. His career was over in real time. And Pam? She simply smiled, picked up her coat, and walked off stage without a single word. Fire game. Set. Match. Bondi. Fire Police Starlight lesson learned. Never challenge someone you underestimate. You just might get destroyed. Police Starlight as Pam Bondi walked off the stage, victorious and composed. The humiliated musician couldn't take it anymore. His career was crumbling before his eyes. His scam was exposed. His reputation? In flames. Police Starlight, so he did something no one expected. Police Starlight, he lunged toward the grand piano, slamming his hands onto the keys in a frantic attempt to prove himself. Musical keyboard, a chaotic mess of sound filled the hall. Off key, jumbled, a desperate scramble. The crowd winced. It was bad. He started shouting, and oh, I am a real musician. I'll show you all. But the notes were wrong. The rhythm wasn't there. His fingers struggled to keep up. Face screaming in fear was worse than humiliating. It was career-ending. Suddenly, Fire Pam Bondi turned around. Fire she saw his desperation, his futile attempt to reclaim his dignity. And then, with the most icy, confident smirk, she strode back to the piano. The crowd went silent. Pam raised her hands and played. Musical notes, a hauntingly beautiful melody, flowed from her fingertips. Musical notes, it was effortless. It was perfect. The musician stopped playing. His hands hovered over the keys, trembling. Fire Pam didn't just prove she was better. She crushed him. Fire the crowd erupted into a standing ovation. Reporters snapped photos. The musician, he sat there, head in his hands. His ego shattered beyond repair. Police scarlight the headlines the next day. Police scarlight loudspeaker fraud exposed. Musician outclassed by Pam Bondi in devastating showdown. Pam Bondi, lawyer, leader, and piano virtuoso. Disgraced musician caught in career-ending humiliation. Fire Pam walked off stage one last time, and this time, she didn't need to look back. Fire her legacy, sealed in victory. The musician's fate, a punchline in history. Police scarlight the end. Or is it police scarlight just when everyone thought it was over, when a musician had been utterly humiliated? When Pam Bondi had stolen the show, something unbelievable happened. Police scarlight, the musician snapped. Police scarlight, his eyes twitched. His hands shook. His career, his reputation, destroyed in front of the world. Face screaming in fear, he couldn't accept it. As Pam Bondi turned to leave, the musician lunged toward the piano again, but this time, he didn't sit. He jumped onto it. Fire, yes. He climbed onto the grand piano, stomping on the keys like a madman. Fire, musical keyboard clang. Crash! Musical keyboard, the sounds were horrendous. A nightmarish explosion of noise. The crowd gasped. Collision if I can't win. Nobody will, he screamed, yanking a microphone stand and hurling it across the stage. Security rushed forward, but too late. Dizzy face, because then he did the unthinkable. Dizzy face with a wild grin. He grabbed a lighter from his pocket and lit the piano on fire. Fire, a massive flame erupted. Fire screams. Chaos. Reporters scrambling for cover. Police scarlight, the piano was burning. The stage was in panic. Police scarlight, but in the midst of the insanity, woman dancing Pam Bondi did not flinch. Woman dancing instead, she did something that would go down in history. She walked through the flames. Fire, yes. She stepped forward. With the fire roaring behind her, Fire, the musician's smirk faded. He backed up. Police scarlight, he had tried to destroy everything. But Pam Bondi, she was unstoppable. Police scarlight, Fire, the cameras captured all. Pam, standing tall. The fire behind her like a scene from an action movie. Fire then. Collision security tackled the musician to the ground. Collision, the crowd erupted in cheers. Loudspeaker, Pam Bondi stares down chaos and wins. Loudspeaker, mad musician's downfall ends in flames. Loudspeaker, the most epic showdown in history. And as the musician was dragged away in handcuffs, his career in ruins, his final words echoed through the hall. This isn't over. Bondi, I'll be back. Fire, Pam Bondi smirked. Fire, because she knew Police scarlight, no one could ever defeat her. Police scarlight, collision, the end. Or is it collision